Welcome to the Rise and Shine podcast, brought to you by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. I'm your host, Jeffrey Abramowitz, and for the next 5 days, we'll be celebrating Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. The Rise and Shine podcast will bring together national, state, and local leaders who are driving change in adult education. Each episode highlights inspiring stories, innovative strategies, and impactful policy efforts that advance literacy, workforce development, and lifelong learning opportunities for adults across the country. Tune in each morning this week to hear how communities are coming together to elevate adult learners and strengthen economic mobility through education. And now, let's get on with the podcast.
Good morning, rise and shine, everyone. We're here in Washington, D.C., day 3 of Flood the Hill and celebration of Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. I am Jeff Abramowitz. I will be your host for this morning, and I am so grateful that everybody's jumping on today from California to Tom's River to South Carolina. Welcome, welcome. Yesterday was day 2, and we flooded the hill. It was an amazing day here in Washington, as it was across the country. We were able to meet with legislators from both Republican, Democrat, Independent, from all over the place, and our 130 plus people, our advocates, were up on Capitol Hill and really having an impact, sharing the great work that's being done across the country, and most importantly, sharing why adult literacy is so important in our country, and we need that funding to keep it going. So I am super excited about today. I don't want to waste a lot of time talking about things that we've been talking about the past few days, which is really the importance of adult education and how you should be out there advocating locally in your cities and your states all week long. Should be every day, all year, but we'll take it this week in particular for Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. So we are here at the Rise and Shine podcast, and I have to tell you, today we have a packed agenda of some amazing guests. And I just want to get us right into it because we're going to be talking first today with Sarah Quick. Sarah is Aspire and Diploma Pathways Supervisor in Upper Valley Career Center. She's the Advocacy Chair for the Ohio Association of Adult and Continuing Learning. And Sarah, how are you?
Great. Good morning.
So, Sarah, we did something special for you this week because in recognition of Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, we wanted to also recognize your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thanks, Jeff.
There you go. Why don't you introduce yourself and tell our audience a little bit about the great work you do?
Like you said, my name is Sarah Quick. I am the Aspire and Diploma Pathways Supervisor with Upper Valley Career Center. I have been here going on 10 years now, but I worked in adult education for 5 or 6 years before that as well. I also 5 or 6 years ago joined our state association, worked as the secretary for our state association. And once I went through the SAFE fellowship with cohort 4, I moved over to be the advocacy chair.
Woohoo!
From there, I have been invited to join a new subcommittee for COABE for advocacy, and I have been asked to be a mentor for this current cohort. So I really kind of fell into advocacy accidentally, and now it's like a really big part of what I do before work, during work, after work, to keep spreading the word and spreading the message.
So I think, Sarah, you're probably typical. There's a lot of people, I remember when you started with SAFE, that there was a little bit of nervousness, we'll call it. And I think it's because of the unknown. A lot of times people in this sector haven't been advocates before. They really weren't sure what it meant to be an advocate. Like, how do you do it? What's expected of me? Like, is there pressure on me to get legislation passed and all this? But can you share with us a little bit about your experience as a SAFE fellow?
We I dubbed myself, and so did my state, the reluctant advocate, because I was not sure what I was doing at all. And once I kind of pinpointed and found my way, like, and obviously the training helped that because you talk about different topics and advocacy every month. I found out that advocacy happens in so many different ways. If all you do is send emails using like the COABE campaigns to send emails, that's advocacy. If you want to be more involved and you want to be like our current SAFE fellow and another counterpart in Ohio who were just in DC the last few days, walking the halls of Congress and taking meetings and then showing up in offices to ask for meetings because they didn't get one, like,
Mm,
and then getting some meetings that way. That's all advocacy to whatever level. I found out that, much like my love of theater and stage management, that my advocacy style is very much like that of a theater stage manager, very
mm,
behind the scenes, has my finger on the pulse of everything, but is very much happy to delegate
mm.
tasks and share with other people how they should do it and what they should do to advocate.
And I think that's important to understand. Advocacy doesn't always mean standing in front and giving the speeches and the meetings. A lot of times it means us doing the orchestrating, right? It means getting everybody together on the same page so that the messaging is all clear and you're sharing the important facts that you want to give to legislators so they can understand the importance of adult education. I was wondering, Sarah, you've done an amazing job with SAFE and the work you're doing in Ohio. Can you share a little bit about the work you do on a day-to-day basis?
So on a day-to-day basis, we are helping hundreds of students. We help over 400 a year, but my program area is considered more of a rural program area. We don't have a regular public transit like a larger metro. And we serve 4 counties and 2 county jails, and we work with many employers. And we also partner with Ohio has state initiatives for diplomas as well. So we partner with them. And we are helping our students anywhere from building their reading skills to obtaining their HSE or HSD, transitioning to post-secondary. At my organization, Upper Valley Career Center is a career tech center. So we also have really started the last few years partnering with our health science center to help our incoming practical nursing and RN students just boost and refresh and build some skills in medical terminology, remember what it's like to be a student. We also partner with our health sciences to do an IET with CNA. We call that our workforce development. And so we're helping, 36 to 40 men and women a year go through the CNA training at no cost to them and get some workforce skill building, help improve their reading, writing, and math, make them more employable. And I don't know what CNA costs in other areas, but around here it's around $850. And that is life-changing to the students that we are helping, that they can get their foot in the door. And then we find that a lot of them transition immediately to our practical nursing program. Once they realize they could do that, they feel confident enough to go through the process to enroll in that however many months and hours long that program is, and to take that on to keep improving their life.
Yeah, it's so important. Studies estimate that low literacy costs the U.S. economy more than $2.2 trillion each year in lost productivity, unemployment, and lower wages. And you talked about healthcare sector, which there's such a demand right now for people. We need trained staff and trained workers in that field, and you guys are just stepping up to meet that need. It's absolutely amazing. Can you talk about the integration of education in workforce development? We're starting to see this blend now of how important it is to get smarter in order to get those better jobs, those career credentials that are really making a difference for people. How important is it from your lens to make sure people have a high school diploma and they're having an opportunity to go post-secondary or they're prepared for that career credential?
I I think everybody's thinking the same thing. It is the most important thing that we do. especially with on our side, helping them build their skills, earn a credential, earn a diploma to get into the workforce is a lot of the employers that we hear from, and then a lot of, post-secondary level training, those instructors, those employers, they don't have the time to backfill what we do. So they love to meet with us and be with us because we can, at no cost to the student, help them fill the gaps that they're missing. The skilled trades instructors need to be teaching their skilled trades. The adult ed instructors need to be partnering with them to fill in the gaps with everything else. The second we start expecting our welding instructor to also, work on resumes, work on reading comprehension, the quality of the welding program is going to decrease, so we are vital and we will always stay vital because we are going to continue to fill those gaps that the other sectors cannot, and that's not their fault. That's just not their job. So we love to partner with them to help make sure that we are filling those gaps.
No, I love it. And it's such an essential piece of the puzzle when we talk about, our economy in the country today and getting people back to, I don't call them jobs anymore. I call them careers. Like, I think we have to start thinking about career pathways for people and not just getting them into an entry level job, but how do they become supervisors? How do they become owners of companies? Like, how do they move up that ladder? And part of that is blending education in with all this great work. The work you're doing in Ohio is absolutely amazing and it's incredible. What is one piece of advice I want you to give our audience today? We're here celebrating Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, and we know advocacy is so important. But in your time as an advocate and in the work you're doing with the Ohio Association, can you tell us, give them one solid piece of advice that they should be doing as an advocate and working in the field of adult literacy?
My advice is you're not in a silo by yourself. Ohio is a wildly collaborative state. We get our best ideas from talking to each other. We have 55 AFLA funded programs in Ohio, and we are always in each other's business in a good way. We have meetings twice a month with admins. We have open office hours. We have, specific ESOL office hours, IET office hours, data office hours. We are constantly in contact with each other. So, even though I might be somewhere between Southwest and Northwest Ohio, I spend a lot of time partnering with programs in Central Ohio, Eastern Ohio, Northeast Ohio. We are constantly talking and sharing and talking about how we do things. To learn more. Some programs have advanced in career pathways faster than others, and we find those programs, we talk to those people, we find out how they're doing, what they're doing, why they're doing. And the same goes with advocacy. We have really focused on advocacy for the last year and a half. We're now hosting advocacy professional developments. We're hosting advocacy office hours. We are just trying to continue the collaboration. So my big advice is don't forget to collaborate with the others in your state. They are doing and going through all the same things you are. Don't sit alone in your office wondering how you're going to solve this problem.
I love it. Sarah, thank you so much. If we wanted to reach you or your program to find more about the great work you're doing at Aspire, how can we find you?
My email address is my last name and my first initial, which is quickS@uppervalleycc.org. I see a lot of my friends and counterparts in the chat today.
They
I
are.
would
A lot of
love
happy
for
birthdays on there
one
too.
of them could pop my email in the chat. So thank you
Very
so
good.
much. And I do see Irene Ramos on here, and I just really want to say that she said something in her interview with you the other day that was very impactful because data is so important, but also the student success stories are. And she said, when you're talking to the public officials or anyone, that these are not just numbers, these numbers are people as well. And so I was so impacted by that. I wrote it down and it's on a Post-it note on my desk.
I
So
love it. I love it. Well, on behalf of everybody on this podcast and Adult Education Family Literacy Week and COABE, wish you a special happy birthday. Thank you for
thank you.
joining us today. And we're going to move on because we have a bunch more guests. But Sarah, thanks and keep up the amazing work.
Thank you.
Awesome. So next up on the podcast, I should be everybody's birthday today, is Kristy Johnson. Kristy, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. Kristy is with the Adult Numeracy Network, and I have a son who's a math instructor in high school, and just the word numeracy gets me all giggly because for some people, when you say math, oftentimes you get shivers. For me, math kind of makes sense. It's like one of these sure things in life that if I say 2 plus 2, you're gonna have to make a pretty darn good argument that it's not 4. So it just makes good sense to me. But Kristy, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome.
One of the things I do with the Adult Numeracy Network is I'm an equity officer. So I'm disabled and I have taught in adult ed classrooms for years with disabled students. So I get to help make math accessible and enjoyable and fun for especially adult learners who are disabled. So that's
I
joyful.
love it. I love it. It's absolutely amazing. First, let's talk before we get there on working with some of the population that you work with. Can you tell us about the network and how does it work? What does it do? How does it function?
So we are comprised of members across the nation, and it's a membership organization, and we host trainings and we host meetup groups where you can connect with other professionals and learn. And actually, when I first started working in adult education, I had previously taught in K through 12. My background was not in math, so I dreaded teaching math. And I went to a few trainings and began joining some of their CAMI sessions, which honestly, I don't even remember what that stands for, but they have a calendar on their website and you can just jump in, pop in, and they do a lot of exploratory activities. Just what do you notice? What does that make you think? What do you wonder? And that building of curiosity was just so low stakes that it became fun. So
I love it. I love it. And math can be fun depending on how you address it and how you get engaged. I remember, for those that may or may not know, but I did a stint in our federal prison system, and when I came home, my first job was teaching GED math, and I remember like having to go back and relearn how to add and subtract fractions and all those things that you haven't done in years and decades for
yeah.
me. Really hard, but I think when we talk about math and reading, math in particular is one of those challenges that often stop people from moving into a career pathway. And I'll give you an example. An HVAC certification program, sometimes you need to be able to, or even carpentry, you need to know fractions, you need to know math. And it plays such a vital role in our workforce. And yet, I don't ever think we do enough to educate people about the connection between math and that career pathway that you're seeking. And I was wondering how you tackle that. Contextualization, like what does it look like for the network and how do you really hone in on make sure people understand how important it is to know math?
Well, I could talk so long on this topic, and
I
if you
know.
ask anybody in the Adult Numeracy Network, there's a few questions we love getting asked, and one of them is people saying, "I'm not a math person," or "I'm never going to use this again." And so those two statements are delightful to get because one thing I love doing with my learners is taking them outside on a walk and then just sitting somewhere and saying, "What math do you see?" Because it's everywhere. So I would say from when you, not just the obvious things like when you're cooking or when you're shopping or when you're budgeting, but also just the repetition in the way that somebody builds, or the volume of a trash can, or you can see math everywhere you look. So that's what I would respond.
Awesome. That's great. Now I'm going to go through my day today and everything from the elevators all the way through my day. I'm going to be looking at things that are related to math and how I blend them in.
Yay.
You did talk about being the equity officer, and one of the things that I'm very sensitive is about working with people that have different challenges in life. I have a wife who's deaf and and hearing impaired, and it's really challenging, but understanding it. And then I talk to people that sometimes view it as a superpower that they have because they see the world differently. And I wonder, what is it that you do that helps connect those people that have a disability into both just literacy in general? Like, what is it that you do that's special?
Well, 1 in 4 people in the US are disabled,
Hmm.
and the movement, some schools are moving away from certificates of completion, which is going to mean that more disabled students are coming to adult ed classrooms. And so it's one of the things that I think is so important right now is that adult educators are aware of the federal resources that are available, like the CAST website and all these resources that we pay for as a country so that teachers can make universally designed learning and in our classrooms. So I think that's one thing that I'm pushing for. And as the equity officer on the website, we're creating a list of resources so that adult education teachers know not just here are math resources, but also here are resources for generally incorporating learners who are all different.
I love it. And it's so important to understand, that the population, when we talk about adult literacy, we're talking about everyone. We're talking about young people, we're talking about older people, we're talking about everyone in the bucket. One of the challenges I think when we talk about working with individuals with a disability is oftentimes, especially in learning, they go undiagnosed. And
Yes.
sometimes, people will go through their whole life thinking there's something, that they're maybe not smart enough in order to do a job. And then all of a sudden they get diagnosed with something that really can be fixed or through certain teaching methods can help them learn better. And all of a sudden the light bulbs go off and then they're rocking and rolling. And I don't think we do enough really understanding how we can service people better. You mentioned some resources, and I was wondering if you could talk to our audience a little bit about the resources that are out there and how you could connect to some of those resources to kind of get up to speed and learn some more about it.
Yeah, so I can put them in the chat. I have a hard time doing 2 things at once. So when I'm
No
done
worries.
talking, I'll put them in the chat.
You got
But
it.
the primary one, um, CAST now has community groups. It is the federally funded educational entity that helps equip teachers to teach disabled learners. And its disability covers every spectrum. It can affect so many things. So it's mostly using what's called the POUR principle, POUR, which I'm going to butcher this, perceivable, operable, understandable, and something that means challenging, but I can't think of the synonym. But it's on the website. And the idea is here are resources. If you have a student who's dyslexic, you can look up, okay, how do I work with this student? If you have a student who has a specific learning disability, you can look up that disability.
I love it. That's awesome. If people wanted to learn more about the work you do and the Numeracy Network, how would they go about, where would they go to? Is there a website or someplace you can direct them to?
Yeah, adultnumeracynetwork.org.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So we are here celebrating Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. And before we let you go, I was wondering if you would share with us, like, what is it that you want legislators to know in this country about the work that you do and the importance of it?
I I love the statistics that you keep giving, Jeff,
Mm,
because that's what I want. I want people to know is that it isn't charity.
mm.
This is not charity work to help disabled learners or all learners function and get meaningful jobs. It's good for us as an economy. And so that's what I wish people would understand is when you take somebody who is not employed or underemployed and you equip them to get a meaningful job that supports their needs, you're moving them off of systems of support and you're empowering them to help our economy even more. And not that people are not meaningful if they're not working, but that is good for America.
It is good for America. And I think there's one thing that I keep thinking about that's rolling around in my head is that, this is the way we break the cycle of generational poverty. And by, children of parents with low literacy skills are more likely to struggle academically themselves. So if we can get mom and dad smarter and we can get that family unit solid, then those children are the ones that are going to benefit from this across the board. Thank you so much for being with us, Kristy. Just give it to us again. If we want to find out more about the Adult Numeracy Network, how can we reach you?
AdultNumeracyNetwork.org.
Awesome. So one last favor I have, I'm going to let you go because we got a packed schedule tonight. Still up today, still have some more people on. But when we get off, if you could throw some of those things into the chat box, I know we're getting a lot of requests. People are hearting you and they're applauding you and everything else. But I think the CAST website is super important and it's a resource tool probably that's tremendously underutilized in our country. And we really could benefit by gaining those resources and taking advantage of what's out there. Kristy Johnson, thank you for all that you do. And thanks for joining us on Rise and Shine. We look forward to hearing more from you throughout the course of the year. And we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.
There you go. So we are covering it all today. And, I am the number of people that are on this podcast are also reflective of the diversity of adult literacy in our country. And the next guests that we have coming on today certainly are going to bear that true because we have Adam Winn, who's president-elect of Wyoming Lifelong Learning Association, and Jessica Leggett, who is our student ambassador. We love student ambassadors around here. Adam, Jessica, how are you guys?
Good. How are you doing, Jeff?
I am doing awesome. Happy Adult Education and Family Literacy Week. Thank you for taking some time with us today. Adam, we're going to start with you, but
Okay.
I wanted you to kick us off by talking a little about Wyoming Lifelong Learning Association and the work you do in Wyoming, and then we're going to go to living proof of all the awesomeness you're doing with our student student ambassador. But how are things going in Wyoming and what's going on there?
It's good. It's a little bit crazy, like it is everywhere in the country, but we actually formed an awareness and advocacy group over the summer. It was I completed Sally about 2 years ago, and then we had 2 of our SAFE fellows. So we formed that, just different ideas about meeting with, local legislators, federal legislators. We've ran an awareness campaign, radio advertisements, that kind of thing. So we're just trying to spread the word across the state of Wyoming.
Unbelievable. So Wyoming you are definitely advocacy in action. Like you can see it in the work you guys are doing. What's the messaging? Like, what is it you want legislators to know about what's happening in Wyoming, what your students are doing, and how important adult literacy is?
I'm a big sucker for stories, so that's been part of it. I understand after meeting with staffers that it's not the stories, it's the data. So we like to back that up as well. Within the state of Wyoming, obviously being the smallest state, I still take pride that if you looked at all of our high school equivalency completions, we would be the largest high school in the state.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It is all about the stories, and I guess, excuse me one sec. I guess the thing that I'm most proud of about COABE in the last few years in particular has been shining the light on our students and our student ambassadors. And Jessica, how are you this morning?
I am doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Can you share your story with our listeners and tell us a little bit about how adult education impacted you personally?
Adult education impacted me. I was a stay-at-home mom for 15 years. I went through a situation where me and my ex-husband separated, and I was a stay-at-home mom of 7 kids. Chose to go back to school because I needed to get an education. And should have listened to Adam 2 weeks into schooling and decided to take the hard path, got a degree in wind energy. And during that process, a few months before graduating, I lost my oldest son to gun violence. And in that process, I really decided that education was a huge part of my life. Working with kids hand in hand, working within the adult education program was a huge impact for me. Seeing the reward in general was impactful and rewarding, and it really hit home for me. And I wanted to continue to bring more people into this program, and it really, really was rewarding. Is all I can continue to say.
Well, I have to tell you that you're getting a lot of hearts and a lot of love on today. But first of all, so sorry for the loss of your son. It is the loss of any child is devastating, and I think that you're so not alone. We have moms and dads from across the country that are really similarly situated, where they find themselves in a place in life where, they lean back on, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to make this work? And gosh, with 7 children, there's a lot to think about, right? You got a roof over your head and diapers and formula and, getting kids to school and all that. And I think our audience would be really interested because gosh, I am. How do you do it? Like, how'd you do it? It's you're talking about juggling not 1 or 2 balls, but you got 7, 6 or 7 up there that are hanging out there. So what's the secret? How were you able to navigate some of those really basic challenges, and what were the biggest challenges that you faced?
Biggest challenges for me were, how am I going to do it? And the only thing that I can say to anybody out there is, take each day. Don't try to work on 5 days or 2 weeks from now. Each and every day you got to focus on, and one foot in front of the other, and just reach out to people, your network, your support systems, truly having, Adam and my group here within the adult education. When things are not going great, I got COVID right when school started, when I was in the program. And having, the people within this program to be like, hey, things are not going great. I'm worried that I'm going to fall behind. And Adam can iterate that I was worried, I was stressing. And he was like, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what's going to happen. And I was so worried about, how am I going to finish? How am I going to do this? How is this going to happen? And it takes a village to raise kids. And without that village, I don't know how I would have done it. And sanity is a beautiful thing, and sometimes it's not there, and sometimes it is. So you just gotta look at people.
Yeah, you're such a tremendous role model for our adult learners who sometimes are probably juggling a lot less balls than you have had up in the air, and you're living proof that they can do it. I'm curious, you mentioned the village, and I think Adam and his team played a part in that village of what I'm hearing. And I'm curious, Adam, from your end, what is it that administrators and site administrators need to understand and teachers need to understand about the students that come in front of them and helping them persist?
I firmly believe it's getting to know the students. And my current program manager, she's going to retire here in a couple weeks, but we're sad to see her go. But the new one's on board, and I think she's going to be wonderful as well. But I've had program managers before where they were kind of stuck in their office, that kind of thing. But there was really a change at not just from instructors, but our administrators. They got to know the students. We do what's called next steps here in Cheyenne. And it's just looking at, hey, what are your goals and how can we help you achieve those goals? And it's not myself or one of the other instructors doing it, it's our program manager. And she, you know, if somebody wants to go into welding, for example, she'll get a career pathway map out for welding, you know, what certifications they need to get, how much money they can make, you know, that kind of thing. And she really does get to know them. And I love it too. I wish I had a sign or the signs that we made, but we have some signs after they complete, because they meet with her after they complete either their high set or their GED. And, you know, she's really there, you know, the whole time, just like we are as instructors.
I love it. I think we have to remember, and we often forget this, is that students don't persist because of not they can't do the work. It's because of life. You know, life gets in the way, and the more and that our classrooms extend far beyond the four walls that we sit in, and we have to understand that a lot better and be able to recognize there are people like Jessica out there that that, you know, they need a shoulder to lean on a little bit so that they can make it through. Jessica, what are you doing now?
I am currently a full-time student in the education pathway, and I'm a student ambassador, and I'm a full-time mom, juggling all those lovely balls and still plugging away at everything I can do.
I love it. So I, along with everybody on this podcast, are giving you a virtual hug today because you're exactly why we do this work. You know, you are the meaning of adult literacy, and I just want to congratulate you on just an amazing journey, and we're sure this is just the beginning of what we're hoping will be a long, successful career for you, and keep it up, keep it up. And Adam, if we wanted to get more information about the work you're doing out there in Wyoming, how could we go about doing that?
So all of our sites are ran through the Wyoming Community College Commission. I can give you my site's information as well. We're in Cheyenne, the capital. So lCCC.wy.edu for that. But if somebody is someplace else in Wyoming, if they go to the Wyoming Community College Commission website, they can get information for the other sites as well.
Awesome. So before we jump over to our next guest, I'm giving Jessica the last word today. Jessica, you got some moms out there, you got some dads out there. Give them those pearls of wisdom. What do they need to know? How'd you do it?
Just continue to have your support. If you don't have anybody for support, there's resources out there that you can lean on. Remember, take each day, always, you know, have a breather if you need it. Take time for yourself. Always remember that you have to have yourself, because without yourself, you can't be good for anybody else. So always remember to have time and compassion for yourself.
Awesome. I think I'm walking away today with just one day at a time, right? Just one step at a time. Keep going forward and don't go back, and that'll make it happen. You guys are both amazing people. Thank you so much for joining us this week on the Rise and Shine podcast. We're looking forward to following up with you, Jessica and Adam. Continue the amazing work in Wyoming. Looking forward to seeing you at more COABE events. And thanks for being being with us today.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
Have a good
Awesome.
day.
Take care, everybody. All right. Next up, we have Katie. I am so happy and excited about having you on today for a number of reasons. Number one is because I love the state of Utah, and I know you guys are doing some great work out there. I want to make sure I pronounce your last name. Donoviel, is that correct?
Just Donoviel. And thanks for having me.
Donoviel.
Yeah.
There you go. It's great to meet you. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I am doing well. We are, you know, sometimes we were at the legislative briefing yesterday, and one of the students spoke really articulately about how his journey through, uh, you know, from getting into adult education and finding a career pathway, and the person that came on right after that student spoke was like, "How do I follow that?" And I know you put you in a bad spot because Jessica is amazing and Adam are doing great work, but we also know that you guys in Utah are doing some amazing work at the Adult Association. Can you tell us a little bit about what's happening in Utah right now?
Yeah, I think similar to a lot of places across the country, in Utah, we're really heavily leaning into advocacy and making those connections between uh, the value that we all know in the fields that this type of work holds, and just really trying to increase visibility and help people understand the value that we're bringing, not just this myth of the night school, right? We're really still trying to break through that and bring a lot of light onto the really incredible work that's happening across our state and across the country, truly.
I love it. I think that, Utah is one of those states that's doing some great work with adult literacy and adult advocacy work and really shining the light on the challenges adult learners face. What are some of the things, the biggest challenges you're facing in Utah, and how are you dealing with them?
Yeah, Utah is such a diverse state in terms of we have this really concentrated metro area where the needs are very different from a lot of the other state, which can sometimes be very rural. We joke in Utah that we kind of have two states. We have this mountain area and then we have this desert at the bottom, and it truly is two different places sometimes. So I think the challenges that we're seeing are a little bit different in all of those areas. I think in the metro area, we're having um, more capacity issues where we're seeing our programs just bursting at the seams. A lot of people coming out to increase their skills at a time when our unemployment rate in Utah is actually the lowest in the country right now. So we're seeing a lot of really heavy competition for jobs. So we're seeing people come out from jobs that they might have had for a long time that they're kind of stagnant in. They're trying to, get that GED, get that high school equivalency, move up to gain those skills. And I'm sure that's not unique to our state either. I think something that probably is a little bit more unique to Utah is that we have such a diverse economy. And a lot of people might not know this, that the economy in Utah actually matches the national economy. So we have every industry represented. And so we have a lot of people who maybe exited high school early and entered trades that are good, high-paying jobs that are also very hard on your body, and there's not a lot of room for movement unless you get that advanced education. So that's the kind of thing that I think we're seeing in more of our rural areas, and that's a little bit different than what we're seeing in the metro area. It's kind of all working together to figure out what's working for you, how can we support all of these different needs across the state.
So it's kind of interesting too, because I don't think we often think enough about we think about getting a job and getting that first job that you have, and then education kind of falls down the ladder a bunch. And I think what we're beginning to realize is that when you get that first job, that probably is the time that you want to start thinking about getting that additional credential. Go back and get your high school diploma, that if you're going to have an opportunity to advance in those companies, that education still plays a crucial role in all of that. And it's one of the things that, we lose sight of because we get so excited about, landing the job opportunity that we forget what's next. I call it the and then what, and then what? Well, I want to be a supervisor. Well, I need better digital literacy skills. Like I need to know X, Y, or Z. And I'm wondering in Utah, are you seeing any of those people that are thinking of advancing in the workforce going back and getting their educational support?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we see this, the and then what is such a great way to describe that, because I feel like that might not happen for some people until we start to see such competitiveness in the workforce. We see cost of living increases. We definitely see that in Utah right now. The cost of living is just skyrocketing. And so I think a lot of people who were comfortable are now being pushed into a place of, and now what?
Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of that return to education, definitely.
So I think one of the things that's happening nationally is we're seeing this great movement where our Department of Educations in the country and our Department of Labors are beginning to realize that they need to talk to each other. They need to start working together as a team in order to be able to create really a robust system of education and workforce development and career opportunities, like these job opportunities that are out there. And I think we're beginning to see it on a national level as well, where our Department of Labor is picking up more and more. In the things that you're doing in Utah, which I think do reflect what's happening, a trend across the country of this workforce development education blend. I'm wondering, what are the things you're seeing are most impactful? Is it apprenticeships? Is it kind of like the IET model where, we're doing a blend of education and workforce training at the same time? What is it you think that we're leaning to? Where are we headed on all this?
Yeah, I think you're spot on in that there's such a highlight right now on workforce development and adult education, which those have always been a partnership. I want to point that out that we've always worked together, and I think Utah is a really great model actually of adult education being the bridge to a lot of those more advanced degrees. So our community college system in Utah is phenomenal, and our adult education program sits within the Department of Education. And so we do have a lot of programs leaning into credit-based diploma. We have a lot of programs like the one that I run outside of the association that focus on working with refugees and immigrants who are learning to read and write for the first time. So we're seeing a lot of programs that if those programs didn't exist in adult education, people wouldn't be able to access the next step in workforce development as well. But we're also seeing, kind of in line with the trend I was saying, people who have jobs and they can't move up. So we're seeing a lot of workforce partnerships, especially in manufacturing, where local programs are going in on site with employers and teaching people on site in there to move up their own workforce. And those partnerships, I think, are really beneficial and unique because we're seeing that the employer is also wanting to provide professional development opportunities for their employees, which then we know helps retention rates and all of this as well. So it's a win-win-win-win.
So it sure is. And one of the things that we often forget is the fact that ultimately the beneficiary of a lot of this, besides the individual, are the employers that are out there. And we need to get private sector to the table in adult education. Like we need to be teaching students what they need to succeed at those employers, whether manufacturers or whatever industry sector it is. And the better we can do that, the better prepared they are to really meet the needs of employers that are out there. Look, we have more jobs in our country than we have people to fill them. And that's a tragedy because, we're not getting private sector to invest in all this process and really understand. And that's something I think is going to have to happen, especially as we continue to have funding challenges and different funding streams go away. We need those employers at the table to be talking to us about what do they need in order to meet their workforce needs. And Utah seems to have their finger on the pulse. I have one or two more questions for you. One is, I kind of was tickled a little bit because it sounds like you have a lot of data at your fingertips. And I think that's awesome. I think that data often tells the story, but how much is it? How much does data really tell the story of what's happening in Utah and across the country? And how do you stay on top of it?
Yeah, so I'm actually participating in the SAFE Fellowship right now, which is probably why I have all of this data just kind of at my fingertips. And something I've learned throughout that process too, I was recently on the Advocast as well, and I was sharing there, all of us are advocates. If you've ever told a success story about a student in your classroom, that's advocacy, right? You're bringing light to the field, you're shining a light on one particular instance of success. And there is definitely a place for that. And we love those as educators too. Those individual success stories are so meaningful. And I think that there is a combination of bringing in the data, showing the need and the impact, understanding that larger picture, of what I've been able to do during the fellowship is really understand what's happening in Utah and nationally, so that when we talk about the impact of adult education, we aren't just talking about that one person in our classroom, even though that one person in our classroom definitely matters and their story can be impactful. We have to have both. And so I always laugh at this. Before I entered adult ed, I was working at a university and I was teaching freshman composition and rhetoric. And all I was doing was talking about the combination of ethos, pathos, and logos, right? And that still sticks in the work that I'm doing now. You need a combination. You need to be able to talk about Joyce's success navigating a CNA program after her adult ed, and you also need to talk about the overall impact of what's going on in the state, or how many CNA openings that we're helping get people into. So it's
I
both.
love
It
it.
truly is.
It has been awesome having you on. I will tell people out there that if you're looking to get data, there's a really easy way of doing it. If you go to coabe.org, we have all these fact sheets that are on there in our Educate and Elevate window that you can get data on every state and find out what's going on in adult education and workforce development in your area. Just get online and super easy. Coabe.org, check it out. Congratulations on being a SAFE fellow.
Thank
You
you so
are
much.
making a difference not only in Utah, but across the country. And it's wonderful having you on. So thanks for joining us today. If people wanted to get more information about the work you're doing, how can they do it?
Yeah, AEAUT.org is the association's website. Right now, I will say the website is a little bit out of date. The association has been kind of rebuilding and strategic planning after the pandemic, and it's just been a slow process because we're doing it the right way and doing it intentionally. So we're a little bit out of date right now, but you can follow us on social media, and that should be changing really soon as well. But thank you so
Awesome.
much for having me on as well.
No, thanks
And
for all you
happy
do.
AEFL week.
There you go. Happy AFL week. So before we're going to go on to our next guest, but before we do, I want to prompt Lindsay because we have a special treat today. And Lindsay, I was wondering if you could play a short video for us that we just received this morning.
My name is Jaron Thomas. I was an AEO student and I'm now in aircraft mechanics school. High school, I made things difficult on myself, I would say. I got distracted with drugs and wanted to pursue a rap career. Senior year, I ended up dropping out of high school and not finishing. I was working a night shift job at an airport, and I met a guy there who mentioned aircraft mechanics school to me. I went to aircraft mechanics school in Irving to go for a tour, and I go through the tour and I found out that it would be something that I would want to pursue. But at the end of the tour, the touring guide told me that I needed my GED. From there, my grandmother seen the post on Facebook, and she encouraged me to get my GED so I can move forward. My journey in the Irving ISD Adult Education was very helpful, very encouraging, and it led me to getting my GED. Definitely recommend joining the program. You have nothing to be scared of. It's very, very open arms, very welcoming. I'm now in aviation school, and my goals for the future is to finish aviation school and to encourage as many as I can.
Wow. What a great way. What a great way to start off an interview. Delia Watley, Program Director at Irving ISD Adult Education. How are you, Delia?
I am doing well, Jeff, and I can't believe it, but I'm starting to cry.
Oh,
That video was just created yesterday. It was just finalized yesterday. So when I knew I was coming on, I don't even think I asked permission. Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas created that video for us, and I had to show it. And so I'm really just looking at it. And so anyway, it's bringing tears to my eyes, but it's great to be here this morning.
well, I'm giving you a big hug for that because that is it's just amazing. We say that, our stories paint a picture of what adult education is all about. And there's just this perfect example. We've seen it throughout Adult Education and Family Literacy Week here in Washington and across the country, where we're telling the stories of our students. And Delia, I was wondering if you could share with us. I know, Jiren is just amazing, and obviously, is on a pathway to tremendous things. But can you share a little about the work you're doing in Irving ISD, and what's your secret sauce? Like, everybody's listening and they want to know, like, what are you doing? How are you doing it so right?
Well, I am the director here in Irving, Texas in Irving ISD for adult education and literacy, and have been for over 20 years. So the length and time served definitely helps in the experience. But the partnerships, if I were to say what is the secret sauce, it would be the partnerships. Being part of a consortium, which Irving ISD Adult Ed is a part of, with Workforce Solutions Greater Dallas at the head. We are part of the TWC grants, State Adult Ed grants. And so having that partnership with the workforce boards and with TWC helps us a lot to integrate employability and industry-specific skills into our programs, along with ESL and GED. We know that Texas, we have probably about 16% of our population without a high school diploma, and which is very needed here. As you can see with Jiren probably thought I could get through life without having a high school diploma, and then bam, he walks through a door and they say, you can't move forward without a high school diploma. And there's adult education and literacy right around the corner. And I want to give thanks and a big shout out to Jiren's grandmother for recommending the program, and she actually saw the posting from one of their relatives, which was a daughter. So this is the importance of getting your name out there, getting your program out there, advertising, because people will see it, and it led Jiren to us. But we have various tracks of work-specific trainings. We partner, again, like I said, with many partners, with employer sites, where we go out into the employer sites and help them with ESL training and classes. We tomorrow will be celebrating and I hope all programs are celebrating Athlete Week, but we will be celebrating tomorrow with the McKesson ladies. There's an organization there at McKesson Corporation called Women Empowerment. And for the last several years, they have been partnering with us and celebrating with us and coming in and reading and helping in our classes. I'll grab a partner from anywhere. And I think that is important to advancing your program and your services.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. It's amazing. We cannot do this without partnerships. And we've been talking a lot about that. I just want to mention Jiren also had a grant to attend the COABE conference this year, and he attended and was also one of our student as leaders at COABE. And it was one of the biggest successes I think COABE's probably ever had, which was the huge number of student ambassadors that we had at our national conference, sharing their stories and the amazing work they're doing. You guys are getting it all together. Like, you figured it out. That industry and education just have this wonderful marriage, and the more you can do in putting those pieces together, the better. If we wanted more information about Irving ISD and adult education programming, like, how can we get it? How can we find out about the great work you're doing?
Website, irvingisd.net/AEL. You can visit us on Twitter and follow all of the amazing stories that we post all the time, and that's Irving AEL. And you'll get a plethora of stories and ideas, how to maybe implement in your program just by following our Twitter tweet, because I'm always posting important things, and I'm always sharing information with others and resources because I want them to share with me as well. So yeah.
Delia, you are a force to be reckoned with out there, and I'm so grateful that you spent some time with us coming on today. Thank you again for all that you're doing, and you got it down. I mean, you have the secret sauce out there. I'm hoping that more and more people will follow you, and that more stories like Jaren's are shared with the country, because that's where the rubber's going to meet the road in advocacy, is sharing out those stories and getting them out there. And I cannot thank you enough. We are actually at the end of this wonderful podcast, and Rise and Shine will be back tomorrow. We have 2 more days, and tomorrow we have a full plate again. So I hope you'll join us tomorrow at 9 o'clock Eastern for the Rise and Shine podcast, sponsored by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. Delia, thank you so much, and look forward to having you back on again and sharing more of the great work you're doing.
Thank you, Jeff. And
Awesome.
Jeff, before I go, let me give a plug and let me give a shout out, because
Sure.
if not, Sharon's going to beat me.
Go for it.
Because this year we also received a grant in partnership with COABE, NCCER, and the Lowe's Foundation to offer the NCCER construction certification. So shout out to COABE, shout out to NCCER and the Lowe's Foundation.
I love it. Great stuff. So that's the Rise and Shine podcast, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Have a great day, everybody.
You've been listening to the Rise and Shine podcast, brought to you by the Coalition on Adult Basic Education. We've been celebrating Adult Education and Family Literacy Week, and we'll do so for the next several days. We hope that you'll join us, and if you have a story you'd like to share with us, you can reach us at info@coabe.org.